Greetings, fellow YouTuber. My name is Tim. Greetings, fellow YouTuber. My name is Tim. Welcome once again to everybody's, and I mean everybody's favorite Friday night internet raging dumpster fire we like to call GainerWorld Live. My name is Tim Gainer. Thank you so much for joining me, as I do appreciate you joining me every single Friday night, long about this time. Friday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Pacific. That's 0100 for you GMT fans, just in case you're wondering. Oh, yeah. But this is what we do. If you're here, if this is your first time here, first off, welcome. We really appreciate you being here. And secondly, we'd like to apologize in advance because what you're about to see is going to be really, really poor. That's just the way it is. When it's been the way it is for about the last 3 years now. We what we do basically, if you're looking for some kind of entertainment value, you certainly will not find it here, that's for sure. Mainly what we do is the same thing we've been doing every week for the last couple of years, and that is we get together simply because we want to chat with each other. And in fact, you can do it right there. There it is, right down there. It's a little chat. If you're watching live, you don't have to, strain your neck looking over there. Just don't even bother. If you're watching the replay, well, there's nothing to watch there. So, but yeah, this is what we do. We bring the chat to you, and we talk about things. We talk about what has happened during the week and other little fun stuff like that. Anything that's on anybody's mind. And yeah, that's how we kill an hour on the internet. I told you it wasn't going to be anything big. I swear to God, it's not going to be anything big. So yeah, if you're new here, by all means, jump in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know where you're from. We are currently on the drive for 500 subscribers because we're up to about 160. And I'm a lonely, desperate man, as you can tell. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. Oh, God. But yeah, this is what we do, and we appreciate you joining us, so thank you very much. Pop into the chat wherever you want. We do lots of different little things. As a matter of fact, whoa, popping right in, right there. Kaylee Lentz popping in. Howdy, Tim. Hey, Kaylee, how you doing? Always good to see you popping in. I appreciate you coming in around. Always good to see people that I haven't seen in a little while. So thank you very much. Noreen Henry is here. Hi, Noreen. Always good to see you. So yeah, the gang's all here. And if you're new here, by all means, jump in the chat. Let us hear from you. Also want to remind you that coming up at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, you need to get out of here and go on the internet and go to hugs@wrgg.com. That's where Cyrus Gray is going to present the Hugs Top 10 Countdown. Hugs Radio, the home of the independent unsigned artist, has been for several years. We are darn proud of it. And Cyrus is going to count down the top 10 independent unsigned tracks in the world based upon the Hugs Top 200 charts. So definitely check that out. Hugs at WRGG, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, every Friday night. So make sure that you're checking that out as well. So what has been going on in the world? My goodness gracious me. There's been some stuff, y'all. In fact, I have this gigantic pile of paper sitting in front of me of things that have been going on. Oh, Lord. If it wasn't important, would I be able to do this? No, I would not. So let's just put the glasses on right away and get to our favorite weekly segment. You know it. You love it. You know what it is. And it's the reason a lot of people are doing it. Kaylee asking, was Perry this week or last week? I have no idea what you're talking about, Kaylee. But I'll tell you what's this week. I'll tell you it's exactly this week. Oh, okay. Let's just dive into it. Everybody's favorite segment of the week. It's the Deadpool Report, y'all. Let's get into it. Come on. Well, the whole thing started off last week while we were on the air. That's how crazy things have been getting around Deadpool land. And we learned through reliable sources, and I promised we would get the whole story, and here's where it's at. Richard Mall, you know that face if you are a fan of 90s television. Richard Mall, best known as playing Bull on Night Court. Remember Night Court? Yeah, Harry Anderson, John Larroquette. He passed away last Thursday at his home in Big Bear Lake, California at the age of 80. Representative for Richard confirmed that news to Entertainment Weekly. He said he died peacefully in his sleep. He was an imposing figure. Not to, what can you say about him? He was a big boy. Stood 6'8", he said, tongue-tied. And according to Entertainment Weekly, he initially had difficulty landing roles, but soon he took advantage of his height and that voice. And he went on to get bit parts, pardon me, went on to get bit parts on shows like Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, Welcome Back, Kotter, The Rockford Files. He also played the Abominable Snowman opposite Ringo Starr and Barbara Bach in Caveman. Remember that one from 1981? Yeah, great movie. He also played a decomposing war veteran in 1986's House. And then came the big time. And boy, we ain't just lying about that. He landed the role that catapulted him, of course, Night Court. He played Bull Shannon all 9 seasons from 1984 to 1992. Although, curiously, and we never found out why, he never did appear in the reboot, which lasted, all of maybe 6 episodes on NBC? But he also did voiceover work. Now, I did not know this. I was unaware of this. He did a lot of voiceover work, including he played the part, he did the voice of Harvey Dent in the Batman cartoons. Yeah. He was Scorpion on Spider-Man, the animated series. He was Norman on Mighty Max. Did a bunch of films, including, this is a who's who as far as I'm concerned. But I'm a Cheerleader. He was in the Flintstones. He was in Jingle All the Way, Scary Movie 2, Dungeon Master, Driving Me Crazy. The list just goes on and on. Getting By, Babylon 5 he was on TV, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Smallville. But he retired eventually because he just spent his days bird watching. So unfortunately, yeah, that's the last that we'll see of Bull, unfortunately. Richard Mall, gone at the age of 80, unfortunately. That was on Friday. Then there was Saturday. I gotta tell you, I've been doing this show for 3 years. This is the second most. This is the second greatest time I've gotten calls and tweets and IMs and DMs on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or is it X or whatever we're calling it this week? Tim, Chandler's dead. If you haven't heard the news, and indeed, how could you not? Matthew Perry, Chandler Bing, the legendary sitcom Friends. Passed away last Saturday at the age of 54. Now, the story so far is that he was found in a hot tub in his home in L.A. Authorities found him unresponsive around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But the thing of it is, and this needs to be said before anybody goes anywhere, according to the Mirror, initial toxicology tests show there was no fentanyl, no meth in his system at the time of his death. They're saying that it's probably going to take anywhere between 3 to 6 months to figure out his cause of death. But the full test is going to reveal if he had harmful amounts of prescription drugs in his system, because let's face it, he was for antidepressant. His alcoholism and drug abuse is legendary, so I'm sure he was on a lot of medication for that. But they're saying it's going to take anywhere between 4 and 6 months to get the toxicology reports back. But he was doing more. I mean, he is known more. And I understand. You know, a lot of people remember Chandler. And it was a great part that he played. Don't get me wrong. But this man had a track record of shows that, wow, is all I can say is wow. He was in The West Wing. He was Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. Mr. Sunshine, he was on. If you remember that series for any reason. He also did a remake of The Odd Couple with I can't remember his name. But, yeah. He was doing that. I mean, the man just had a track record of just great shows. Now, Variety is saying that he'd spent the Thomas Lennon. Thank you. Amu City Games just popped in and just reminded me. Thomas Lennon. Thank you very much. Variety is saying that he'd played pickleball the morning of, or the afternoon of, his death. And in fact, Billy Bush, remember him? Old Billy Bush, the Mr. Interview the lying traitor and grab him by the pussy. Yeah, that guy. They said that he played pickleball on that day, but he said that he was looking unwell even then. He said, and also that Billy wrote, and this is a quote from Variety. I spoke to the woman he played with this morning, and every morning she's in shock. She adored Matt, said that he'd been fatigued today and over the past week, a little more than usual. He played for an hour, then went home. So, not really sure what happened there. But, obviously, this when news broke, I mean, like I said, my line blew up because people just loved his character, loved him as a person. And in fact, as you can, I'm sure you can imagine, everybody in the cast of Friends is just devastated. And they did, I believe it was on Sunday, issued a joint statement to People magazine. Said, quote, "We are also utterly devastated by the loss of Matthew. We were more than just castmates. We are a family. There's so much to say, but right now we're going to take a moment to grieve and process this unfathomable loss." And it's signed by the whole cast: Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matt LeBlanc, and David Schwimmer. And they also went on to say, and again, this is a quote from Variety, "In time we'll say more and when we are able, but for now, our thoughts and our love are with Maddie's family, his friends, and everyone who loved him around the world." Um, yeah, Mira Sorvino, people like Mira Sorvino has weighed in on um, on it, along with Josh Charles, Selma Blair. They call him a sweet trouble soul and a great actor. But yeah, this is the one that this is the one that everybody, and like I said, this was the second most commented story that I have ever gotten. And as a matter of fact, we're going to get to the first one in just a second. But yeah, Matthew Perry, gone at the age of 53. That was on Saturday. And then on Tuesday, if this wasn't enough for you, Tyler Christopher. If you are a fan of the soap operas, you will remember him for his role as Nicholas Cassadine on General Hospital. He's gone at the age of 50. His co-star Maurice Bernard announced the news on Instagram on Tuesday evening, writing, quote, Tyler passed away this morning following a cardiac event in his San Diego apartment. Tyler was a truly talented individual that lit up the screen in every scene he performed and relished bringing joy to his loyal fans through his acting. He was a sweet soul and a wonderful friend to all that knew him. He also was an advocate for better mental health and substance abuse treatment, who spoke openly about his struggles with bipolar depression and alcohol. So, yeah, he played Nicholas Cassadine on General Hospital from 1996 to 2016. And then he played Connor Bishop from 2004 to 2005. And also won a Daytime Emmy for his performance. He'd gotten 4 nominations along the way. He also worked on Days of Our Lives between 2001 and 2019, scoring a Daytime Emmy there for Outstanding Lead Actor for his drama. Outstanding lead actor in a drama series, he said tongue-tied, for his performance as Stefan Demera. So, yeah, he worked General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, also worked in, remember the ABC family dramas? Yeah, you remember those. The Lion Game, he guested on series like The Twilight Zone, SCI, Family Law, Angel, Charmed, The Pretender. Had a couple of movies under his belt. Ice Storm, 20.0 Megaquake. Everybody remembers that one. Super Volcano, Shouting Secrets, Out of the Black, Max Winslow in the House of Secrets, Murder Anyone, and Beyond the Lights. So, yeah. Gone too soon. The age of 50. Tyler Christopher. It was a busy week, Deadpool people. That's what we got for this week, though. So yeah, that's what that was the second most crazy story that we had this week that caused my phones to blow up. Let's check the tote board real fast. Elena Kaczynski's popped in. Hello, Elena, which means that the Danimal, oh yeah, he's in there as well. Elena's saying, would you happen to know what his recent shows were? We just rattled those off for you, Elena. Amu City saying about Matthew Perry, I guarantee he will no longer be there for you. Wow. And Kaylee said, I've heard enough people chirping off weird conspiracy theories about it too. Yeah, and we're not going to know for sure. So let's just kind of chill on that. Okay. That was my first original thought too. Maybe he relapsed, and got too high and drowned his. But we don't know that. And I don't want to speculate on it. We'll let the toxicology people take over. Tyler also was a Joliet native. That is true. He was born and raised in Joliet, Illinois. So that was the second biggest thing that happened this week that caused my phones to blow up. Anything else? Oh, yeah. There was that. That was the first biggest thing that caused my phone to blow up on Thursday. I guess people have come to the conclusion that I am a Beatles fan. Now, I'm going to put it out here before I say or do anything, and the reasons for this are justified. I need to get a poll of everyone watching right now, and I'm not doing this for the clicks or anything like that. I really need to know because I really have a lot to say about this. Have you heard the new Beatles single, Now and Then? Please let me know in the chat. If you're watching the replay, let me know down in the comments down below. I'm going to take a couple of seconds out. The reason being is twofold. Number one, if you haven't heard it and you want to hear it, I don't want to tarnish anything. If you haven't heard it, also I have a little bit of a treat because today we got the video. The video for the last Beatles song, Now and Then, directed by Peter Jackson. So I just want to, I just want to know for sure. So I'm going to take a second out. Amu City said he has not. Noreen Henry says she has. Kaylee says that she has not. And Elena says, I heard part of it. And okay. Now, if you want, as I said, I have the video. I am not above playing this video right now. And anything you said, and Amy City says, anything you say will not taint my opinion. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I'm going to, everybody, okay, so yeah, even Noreen is saying play it. Okay. I'm going to play this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow a second, maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds in between the beginning and the end of the song because, yeah, even Kaylee's saying for any reason, YouTube might hate you for it. And that's why I'm going to allow a second or 2 seconds in between this because I have found that when I use videos sometimes, I can use them on Friday night, but I can't use them on Saturday. Wonder why that is. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to play this. And I'm just going to take it from there. And I'm going to give my opinion after that. And I also want your opinion on top of this. This is the last song. And never in my life did I ever... I got to say these words in 1995 at the late great WBUS radio in Chicago. And it made my life. But now I'm able to say it on my own show. Even if it is the internet. It is my own show on YouTube. And I am able to say these words. Ladies and gentlemen, the new single from the Beatles.
One, two.
It's all because of you. And if I make it through, it's all because of you. And now and then, if we must start again, well, we will know for sure that I
The new track, Now and Then, by the Beatles. I have never had in the history of this show had more tweets, DMs, IMs, text messages over Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever we're calling it this week, all asking me the same thing. Tim, what do you think? I'm going to say this, and now this is all coming off the top. This is all coming from the heart. I will say this. I heard it the first time when it was released on Thursday. Did I buy it? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Did I pre-order the vinyl? Absolutely. It is going in my Beatles collection. When I heard it the first time, I was all set to hate it. I was all set to hate it. I really was. I went, no, this is not how I want to remember them. But I let it grow on me. I listened to it a couple more times. I also went back and watched the documentary. There's a 12-minute documentary on YouTube that you really should watch in order to really appreciate this song. Is it a Beatles song? No. This is Paul McCartney's interpretation of a John Lennon song. Oh, by the way, Ringo Starr played drums. Oh, by the way, there's a little bit of George Harrison's guitar on there. But the fact of the matter is that this was not completed per se by the Beatles. Free as a Bird was completed by the Beatles. Real Love was completed by the Beatles. This track, for the most part, was completed by Paul McCartney. And if you look at the credits, you'll find out that this is true. He redid the piano on it, played the guitar. He plays the slide guitar. That solo is not George Harrison. It is Paul McCartney. And Ringo Starr redid the drum track. But as much as I hate to say it, as much as the purists like myself and the pundits will want to admit it, it sounds like the freaking Beatles. I mean, there's obviously some negatives in it. One of the negatives being the fact that, and I've mentioned this in the past, Paul McCartney sounds old. He sounds all of 80. He really does. But he was smart enough to lay himself in the background. I say he is because he and Giles Martin produced this single. And also, hats off to Giles Martin for taking a tip from his dad and writing that string score. That string arrangement is all Giles Martin. And you can tell he ripped off his dad to a T. Damn near perfect. But Paul buried his vocals back enough where you didn't really notice them. Okay? And yes, you saw in the video that there was Ringo singing. Yes, he did put vocals on this as well. But what got me are the positives. The production on this record is absolutely stellar. I said this on my Facebook post when I heard this for the first time on Thursday. The first thing that I heard was John Lennon is right there in your face. They did a magnificent job pulling his voice out of that demo tape. And the first thing, I mean, and even Noreen saying in the chat, it brought tears to my eyes. I burst into tears when I heard John's voice. And the first words to myself were, holy shit, he's right here in the room. We used to make jokes about how, perfect recordings are if the strings are in your fireplace. Guess what? John Lennon's right there in your living room. And he never sounded better. He hasn't sounded that good since Double Fantasy. Let's call it. The music, the writing on it is, I mean, the lyrics, they're good. It was a demo. But they took it and they did something. They really did something with it. That is to say that Paul and George and Ringo did something with it in 95, or at least tried to, but Paul completed it in 2022. And again, I don't want to, if you're a younger viewer, and this is the part that scares me, because last night I sat up, I'm not going to lie to you. I sat up last night and I watched, there's a lot of reaction videos. If you're a fan of YouTube, people do reaction videos all the time. I almost did one myself, but went against that because I didn't want to look like everybody else. I didn't want to look like some old fat schmo trying to get in on the reaction craze. But everybody, I watched kids in their 20s listening to this and crying like babies. It's so beautiful. It's the Beatles. I love the Beatles. And I heard one say, and this really made me think. Well, here, let me give you, let me put it to you this way. When Paul and Ringo, I don't know if you remember this, but back in, I think it was 2023, it was 2013 or whatever it was, when the Grammy organization, the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, when they did the 50th anniversary of the Beatles invading America, and they came out, and Paul and Ringo came out, and they played a couple of songs together. And one of my sons, I won't say who, because I don't want to embarrass him, but one of my sons called me crying. He's going, I can't believe this. This is as close as I'm going to get, but it's good enough for me. I'm watching the Beatles perform live in my lifetime. And to the younger viewers, just please know that I'm not trying to influence you in any way. In fact, I'm really, really thrilled for you that you got this event in your lifetime, that you got to share the joy that we old folks got to share back in 65 when we would listen to our radios and the jocks would keep us at bay because there may be a new Beatles single out any minute. It was a real thing. And we hung on the radio. And for those 6 weeks or 7 weeks that Paul was saying, or a couple of months or whatever it was, there's a new Beatles single. And the reaction was just incredible. Just incredible. So for you to be able to experience that, I'm happy for you. I really am. And what a great way for you to see this, but right at the end of the road, their last official song together. So I don't want to influence that, and I don't want to take that away from you. Another thing that, to me, was extremely glossed over, and nobody's talking about this, and I think it needs to be talked about because this is what makes it sound like a Beatles record. If you listen to the background vocals, not the harmony vocals that Paul and Ringo put on, but the background vocals, the oohs and ahs, or as I used to like to call them, the Motown doo-wops. those are actually, Giles Martin took a trick from the Love album. Remember the Love album? Great album from 2001. Loved it. So what he did was he took the background vocals from Here, There, and Everywhere, Eleanor Rigby, and Because, and put them in such a way that it sounded like a nice full 20 voice, just the way that they used to do it in the studio. So there's a lot of positives, a couple of negatives. You know, like I said, is it a Beatles song? No. It's Paul McCartney interpreting a John Lennon song. Oh, and by the way, Ringo played drums. And oh, by the way, George did a little bit of guitar. But it sounds like the Beatles. Is it going to be one of my top 10 singles from them? No. Do I wish they would have stopped? Do I wish Paul would not have done this? Yes. But we knew Paul was going to do it anyway because, well, he's Paul McCartney and he gets his way anyway. Remember Let It Be Naked? Remember the remix of Yellow Submarine? And now this. Is this the way I wanted to see the Beatles go out? No. They should have stopped at Real Love. That was the perfect endpoint right there. But the song itself is absolutely magnificent. As music goes, it is impeccably produced, very well played. And would I recommend it? Yeah, I would totally recommend it as a song. Would I recommend it as a Beatles song? Meh. Again, that's open to interpretation. You know, I can look and go, well, it's not the Beatles. It's Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr playing to a track of John Lennon. But then it goes back to an argument that Chris King and I have had for years. My occasional guest co-host Chris King and I have had for years. When is a band not a band? Is it The Who, even though it's just Peter Townsend and Roger Daltrey? Is it the Stones, even though they lost Charlie Watts and Brian Jones and Bill Wyman? Is it the Doors without Jim Morrison? Is it Queen without Freddie Mercury? Well, they have Brian Lambert, so what? So, depending upon your interpretation of that argument, is it a Beatles song? Well, that's entirely up to you. Does it sound like a Beatles song? Oh, hell yes. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Overall, the final Beatles single, Gainer's Choice, 4 3/4 stars out of 5. Go out and get it. It's on all the streaming platforms. You can get it at thebeatles.com. You can also get it on Amazon, wherever you pick up music these days. There is a downside, though. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but now that I brought it up, there's a downside to all this. The downside is the B-side. Now, when they created the single, Now and Then. Then the B-side, Let It Love Me Do. Great idea. Great idea. To the folks at Apple, Capitol, UMG, Universal Music, their songs are fire, man. Great idea. But what we get is the 2023 remix. Now, how can this be a remix, Tim? Good question. The answer is, don't forget, they used AI, artificial intelligence, to lift John Lennon's voice out of a dusty, dingy cassette tape with a 50 cycle hum on it that he recorded on a Sony boombox in his living room in his apartment in New York City. If you don't know the story behind the song, that's where that voice in that song comes from. So what do we have with Love Me Do? What does this have to do with Love Me Do, Tim? Well, that AI apparently was also used on the B-side of that single, and I'll tell you how I know this. The song was originally, and this is the album track, this is the single track, by the way, the one that Ringo Starr actually played on. If you don't know the story, when they did the album, they brought in a sessions player, Andy White, to play some of the tracks. But this is the single that was recorded live in the EMI studios, in the Abbey Road studios, on a 2-track mono recording. So I went, okay, now and then, let's hear the 2023 remix of Love Me Do. It's in stereo. How does a mono master become stereo? And I'm not talking Beatles stereo for you Beatle freaks. This isn't the lows on one end, the highs on the other. Oh, no. We've got George Harrison's guitar on one track. We've got John Lennon's guitar on another track. We've got Ringo playing both left and right channels. We've got Paul in the middle with his bass singing. I now understand why they're going to re-release the Red and the Blue album. What they're going to do, and make no mistake about this, you heard it from this Gainer first. What they're going to do is they are going to re-release AI mixes of all of these tracks, including the expanded tracks. That's why Now and Then is on the Blue album. I finally figured it out. We are getting into a really dangerous place in music. In fact, I'm going to make a video about this probably in the next few weeks. That things are being remixed and demixed, and we're getting into a really scary place where we're remixing things to the point where I don't think it's in the artist's best interest anymore. It's not how the artist intended. Think about it. But yeah, that's the Beatles. That's my interpretation of Now and Then. Thank you to everybody who wrote in and called me and went, I really want to know what you think about that. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys, for some reason, value this old fat guy's opinion. I don't know why, but that's how that is. Elena says, thanks for your detailed analysis. I do appreciate it. Very welcome. Not a problem. This is just me spouting off because it's my show and I can. And that's the last 4 letters of the word American. I can. Amy City saying, Love Me Do 2023 Armand Van Selden Trap Mix. Yup. That's where that's at. There was some good news this week. Believe it or not. There's some other good news. Yeah. They found Jimmy Hoffa. Allegedly. Again. If you don't know who Jimmy Hoffa is, then you obviously slept through U.S. history in high school. But for the one or two in the know, according to The Independent, and I'm not making this up, they say that the body of Jimmy Hoffa, the Teamsters boss, who disappeared in 1975, may have been found buried next to a Milwaukee baseball stadium by a search dog called Moxie. This, according to cold case investigators. There is a nonprofit Case Breakers group that says, again, you can't make this stuff up, They say that its years-long investigation led them to the former site, and I can see this. It led them to the former site of Milwaukee County Stadium in Wisconsin. This is the former home of the Milwaukee Brewers. And they believe now that he was buried on third base. The field is now, it now rests beside a Little League field that was built next to the current stadium, American Family Field. The case breaker said in a statement on Wednesday that their search, this again according to The Independent, that their search was aided by a dying police sergeant's scribbled instructions on an ace of spades playing card. Oh, man. He's on his way out. They're playing cribbage one night. By the way, he writes it down. Here's where Jimmy Hoffa is buried. I'll open with 4. In case you don't know, Hoffa was a legendary union leader. He disappeared on July 30th, 1975, on his way to a meeting with Detroit Mafia members, allegedly. His body has never been found. He was declared legally dead in 1982. But now independent sources in 3 states are convinced that volunteer investigators, the case breakers, that CSI Forensics will reveal Hoffa's remain at this Little League field that we're talking about, in the shadow of Milwaukee's MLB Stadium. They claim that Hoffa's body was moved from another location and was secretly buried in 1995 under the old stadium's third base, which you can make a ton of jokes about. Yeah, Jimmy never made it home. The Little League field, by the way, was that was built in 2002 in the middle of the in the middle of the parking lot that replaced the old stadium. And the case breakers say that they used radar, which was blocked by an unexpected clay layer. Sure, the old unexpected clay layer routine. Sure. And they say it indicates a dig at the site had been hurriedly excavated and backfilled. The group then brought in a top cadaver dog. Enter Moxie to the site with a retired police officer handler, Karen Corcoran. The dog giving positive signs several times. Moxie's on the trail. Founder Thomas Colbert told Fox News Digital, this gal has, I believe the figure is over 200 cases of finding either the dead or the missing. So, Moxie's got a track record. That's kind of cool. She's phenomenal, and she brought in her dog. And where does the dog go? Right to the ground penetrations radar spot 3 years earlier, and that's where we got excited. Which will give you an idea of how much of a great date Thomas Colbert is. The group says Moxie pointed, wagged, barked, and nosed her way into 4 hits at the stadium's old third base location. Mr. Colbert said that the next step is to work with local law enforcement to dig at the site along with the FBI. You might remember, if you are a fan of the Jimmy Hoffa saga, there's been a string of searches. The latest being one under a bridge in New Jersey in 2022. And of course, he was the subject of the movie The Irishman with Al Pacino. So the Independent reached out to the FBI and they said they cannot comment on an ongoing investigation. The Beatles released their final song, and Jimmy Hoffa may have been found. Has this been a week for news or what? Oh, one more thing, too. Going back to the Beatles real fast, and then I want to drop the subject. Has anybody also noticed the fact that the Rolling Stones released their new album, Hackney Diamonds, 2, maybe 3 weeks ago? And suddenly the Beatles released a new single as well? Will this war never end? McCartney even played on the album. Think about that one. Dang, Paul. What's that all about? Oh, a bite in the hand that feeds you. Man, come on. Also, if you're a fan of country music, I know that you'll agree with me that nothing says 1990s country music quite like that of Mark Chestnut. Well, according to Music Universe, we send out our best wishes to him because he was forced to cancel 2 shows this weekend. Apparently, he's in critical condition in an East Tennessee hospital for an undisclosed medical episode. His team posted a message on social media yesterday, but the post has been removed. Although it's unclear as to why. The message said, according to Music Universe, quote, Mark and his management team regret we've had to cancel 2 shows this week. Mark was admitted to the hospital Wednesday evening and is now in critical care, the critical care unit, in stable condition. He's receiving care and undergoing multiple tests to identify the cause of his medical issue. We'd like to apologize to our fans who have been so supportive and hope that you'll keep Mark in your prayers. We'll update more. He had shows planned in Shipshewana, one of my favorite towns, and in Henderson, Tennessee. His next scheduled date is November 9th in Cedar Park, Texas. So, yeah, best wishes going out to Mark Chestnut. Kind of got knocked down there, although we don't know why. But he's in critical care. They're saying he's in critical condition. Okay, that ain't cool. That ain't cool. So, yeah, I would definitely look into that as well. Kaylee is saying 2023 turning out to be a really interesting year. 2 months left to go. No kidding. Which reminds me that we should start talking about my favorite project, which is going to be coming up. Yes, it is November, and we all know what that means. It means that the Mariah Carey thawing has begun. But you don't need to listen to that when you've got Classic Christmas. Yes, my favorite station, my pet project that I put together every single year, will be coming back December 1st. If you don't know what Classic Christmas is, you want to talk old school? We're talking really old school. We're talking Dean Martin. We're talking Nat King Cole. We're talking Bing Crosby. We're talking Pat Boone. Yes, that's right. I said Pat Boone. Ed Ames, Kate Smith, all of the great albums and compilation albums we have restored from the original vinyl releases, going back to the 40s, 50s, and 60s. We dust them off and we play them constantly from December 1st to Christmas Day. Check it out, ClassicChristmas.com. We'll be back very soon. So, yeah, do me a favor and mark that on your calendar. Classic Christmas, your all-time holiday favorites restored from the original vinyl releases. There's a few things left here that I did want to talk about. Amy City says the website is down. I know, it's not on the air yet. Check with your hosting provider. I know. You guys don't think I'm going to give everything away right away, do you? Come on. Got things happening. Also, yes, programming note, as long as I'm talking about it. No show next week. Speaking of which, and speaking of radio, I'm going to be in Pennsylvania, working with the good folks at Hugs 24/7 Radio. We've got some very, very exciting things coming up that I really want to tell you about, but we just can't right now. and I really, really want to. So please just a little bit of patience, but we will be back in 2 weeks, and we'll talk about it then. You told me to check the website. I know. If I told you to jump off a bridge, would you do it? Daggone kids. Anyway, yeah, and speaking of hugs, make sure you get over there right after we get off the air here. Cyrus Gray's got the Hugs Top 10 Countdown, the top 10 unsigned independent tracks in the world. That's coming up at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. Certainly do appreciate it if you check that out. And check out the station as a whole. It has some terrific music. Artists that deserve to be heard. Songs that you've never heard by artists that deserve to be heard. That's what it's really all about. At Hugs 24/7 Radio, we're all very proud of it. And we got even bigger things coming. Stay tuned, as they say in the vernacular. So, that being said, it's just about time to get on out of here. We actually, we didn't run out of stories this week because Tim decided to spout off about the Beatles. Don't get me started. But anyway, I want to thank everybody that joined in the chat this week. If you have something to say, if you're watching the replay, always leave chats down in the comments. We will answer you. Don't know when, but we will definitely answer you. Appreciate everybody that joined in this evening. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Tim Gainer. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff while we're on the drive for 500,000 because I have low standards. Have a good week. We'll see you in 2 weeks. No, not next week, but we'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, we out. Play.